Hmm.
I remember getting changes to the script while we're on the set filming, and say, "Hey, here's the maroon pages,"
Oh
and
boy.
uh, and those things, that makes a difference when you're when you're performing, because you don't have a chance to work out all the kinks sometimes.
Hmm.
Um,
How many pages did they have? How many different colors did they have? And what did they mean?
oh wow, okay. So what they do is they print the original script in white,
Hmm.
black and white, just like any other script would be printed. And as we start to film, the writers make changes, and there is a color coordination scale for uh, change revisions. And I believe the first revisions come in blue, the second ones come in pink, and then they go into yellow, and then they go all the way into like these very obscure colors
Monster
where
Maroon being one of them.
right, monster maroon, or you're just like, wow, what are these colors? And they write down the names of the colors, and you can see, I think the most I've you look up at a script that has all the revisions in it, and it started off white when you flip through the pages, and by the time you're done with the show, it looks like like a rainbow of colors as you flip through, and you're like, wow, this whole thing is not even what it was when it started.
Hmm.
Now that could mean just taking one word out,
Sure.
or taking out a sentence, or subtracting things, which is always better for you when you're performing, because you have now less things to memorize or perform. But when they add things, and all of a sudden, you're getting ready to go, and you only had 2 lines that scene, so you were ready to just knock it out the park, and they hand you the script, and they say, here's the new revisions, and now you have 4 pages of dialogue and all these monologues. You start to say, oh wow, I got a lot more work to do.
They're like, you better get to memorizing.
You better get to memorizing. And they know that you have, they'll give you a little window of time to practice and perform and get ready for it, because nobody can just on the spot memorize 4 pages outside of Avery. Because I've seen Avery do
Was he
amazing
was he good
things.
at memorizing, huh?
Oh, yeah.
He learned his
Oh,
lines
yeah.
quickly?
Very quickly. I think he has a photographic memory.
Wow.
Yeah, he has a photographic memory. Avery memorized everything, including everybody's name first and last on the set. And uh, he knew everything, for that matter. Yeah.
Man, learning lines sometimes can just take forever. Some people can just like knock it out so fast. They learn their lines, and other people they're working on it every night, the night before. And you're saying Avery would just kind of glance at it for a little bit and have it down. Did he
Yeah.
tell you if he ever had like a specific method to memorize lines, or you think it was just a talent?
Oh, I think it's just exercising that muscle for so many years, doing stage. A lot of the actors on our show coming from the theater
Hmm.
and doing stage plays. And one thing about that is you have to know the whole thing, because you're performing it all at once. So if you're doing Shakespeare, for example, you have to know the entire, the whole thing for that night's performance. And sometimes you're performing 2 times a day.
Dude, have you ever memorized Shakespeare?
Yes, I actually have. Not easy to do.
It's a lot of work. It is
Not
tough.
easy.
it's,
It's
yeah, it's like,
not
I
easy.
guess all those words are in English, and I speak English, but I don't know
Yeah.
half these words, man.
Where art for thou is this thou thee thy. Yeah, a lot of those words, but it's part of the classical training for acting. So I'm not going to diminish what it is, because that's where
Hmm.
all the art form in itself originates in many ways, or at least was perfected. Um, so no, not to diminish what Shakespeare does. It's a specialty in its own, and it requires a heavy exercise of the memory. And so once you start to exercise those muscles, then doing Star Trek is I'm sure a hell of a lot easier
Sure.
than the whence thou's first.
That was pretty
So
good.
thank you. I've been practicing my whences. Um, so yeah, but the hardest part, I think, was the technical stuff.
Hmm. Mhm.
when you start getting into technical stuff. And Robert Beltran got into that a little bit in his discussion. He hated that.
I'm glad you mentioned Robert Beltran because I was just going to bring up exactly that. Did you notice in this episode there was an Admiral Chakote?
No, and I heard you say it earlier,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I didn't. Where was the man? Where?
He said, get me Admiral Chakote to O'Brien. And that's who he was talking to later. That was the Admiral, Admiral Chakote. And I'm like, do they just not even address that? That, it's like it's just two completely different Chakotes? Or is there something in universe that says like, they're related in some way? I mean, they must be. I mean, it's not like a very common name. So that made me a little curious. And those of you at home, let us know if you know the answer to that. How is Admiral Chakote related to the Chakote that we know from Voyager?
Well, I didn't know that. Perhaps his dad.
He didn't really look like him.
No.
He looked very white. he looked very white. Didn't look Native American. He didn't look Hispanic. So that's why I was kind of curious, like that they used the exact same name, 5 years later or 4 years later when they're starting up Voyager.
You sure it wasn't Chipotle?
It may have been Chipotle, but that'd be even weirder for that guy. Let me check. I'm gonna check IMDb real quick. Let me see.
That would be another prediction that DS9 made.
Okay, here's the answer.
Okay,
it is Admiral Chakote, but it's spelled differently. It's spelled Chekote rather than Chakotay. So it's spelled differently. There's our answer. So not related.
So now we know in the future, Chakote will be a very popular name. It'll be like John,
but spelled differently. Like Jon and John. People
exactly
get as creative as they want with it.
Exactly. There's a Chakote with a Q. He's black though, but he's on the Enterprise.
It's like CH'Qo.
Yeah. He's in the future Federation NBA. Chakote, number 23. But no, that's pretty interesting. I didn't catch the Chakote reference, actually. I didn't see that. Who is the actor that's playing the leader of this circle? I keep wanting to remember his name.
Oh, Leonidas?
Yeah, Leonidas.
No, it's Richard Beymer.
Is that his name, Richard Beymer?
Yeah, Richard or Beymer. Yeah,
Beymer.
Yeah, exactly.
He's a really fine actor, and I've seen him in so many other things, and I can't place it. He's one of those actors that's always like in things. I can't remember exactly what I've seen him in, though.
Looking him up, he was in Twin Peaks recently. He was in the X-Files.
X-Files is where I've seen him.
Murder, She Wrote, more Twin Peaks.
No, it was X-Files. Now I know that when you said it, I used to watch X-Files back in the day. And now I know he was on X-Files. He was like one of the mysterious FBI guys or secret society guys.